presentation. My lovely assistants will help me with the chairs for the discussion. And for the discussion, we have our speakers from before, Justas and Monika. And also we have Arvydas Bložė from Startup.lt. Applause. We have Mendelevich from AdDuplex. And we have Bernardas Morkūnas from ThinkToolkit. Where are you? Oh, you're hiding. Okay, there they are. And yes. Okay, so please take a chair. The discussion will be moderated by Mrs. Jurgita, and we hope to cover many important questions about the topic for today's event. And you are welcome to ask questions as well. So if you have any questions prepared, please don't hesitate and just ask. We're going to have this microphone for all of you. Sorry for the inconvenience, but so just I'm going to hand the microphone now to Mr. Arvydas, and just please begin the discussion. Good luck.
We all hope you pass.
Okay, so thank you very much for joining, and I guess first of all it would be very interesting to hear your thoughts on the topic that we spoke today about how to attract and have the best talents in the team, as we didn't have a chance to do the presentation. So just maybe some thoughts on what you saw and.
It's working. Okay. First of all, good evening, everyone. I'm Arvydas, representing Startup.lt, which is a part of Practical Capital. We are accelerator, and Practical Capital accelerating the teams in a specific stage of growth, meaning from incubation or a stage where they have MVP and product fit. So we are dealing with startup teams, and we are building them every day. At the moment, we have 5 startups that are being accelerated, and this is a very important and crucial problem actually we face every day. But we do believe that startup is something related to very extreme uncertainty, and also it's a human institution, so people play a crucial role. And we try to explain our startups not to hire based on past experience that much as on what people can actually do. And at the same time, we advise them not to make unilateral decisions or decisions based by founder or anyone else, but kind of make it as a team decision, because working hours are not really defined. and we have to have a very reliable partner to build a thriving company or system or a product. And you have to know when things go wrong, that you can rely on your partners. So it's very important. And we also work with people Link a lot, so they're helping us in that sense as well. So that will be very short for me.
Okay, thank you. And then if you could pass on.
Yeah, hi, my name is Alan. I'm founder and CEO of AdDuplex, and I'm probably the least qualified person to be on this panel. But since our team has grown from 2, a little bit more than a year ago, to 12 now, I guess I have some insights to share. In general, what I think is different and maybe more important for many of you is, being in that stage when you are just 1 or 2 people and going to that next step. When you get to like 100 people level, maybe there are more qualified and professional people who should do that. But when you are just starting up, I think it's basically you don't have other choice than to do it yourself. And yes, so I guess I have something to share there. And my main thing that I think I've noticed is that basically you are building a team around yourself, and you can say a lot of nice things that you have to create a fun environment for everyone. blah blah blah. But basically, I'm a boring person, to be honest. So if someone shoots me with an arrow at work, I will not be happy. So I want to surround myself with people who are more or less. I'm not a sad person. I'm not a depressed person, but I want to work with people who are mostly, of the same mindset as I am. So I think that's also a very important topic, and people who are hired to build a team, they usually like address it as creating a fun environment. But believe me, there are a lot of people who also don't enjoy being shot by arrow in the office, and you can build. If you are that person, you can find other people who are like that, and it's not necessarily that everything should be fun, colorful, etc.
Hello, I suppose I'm the last one here. So my name is Bernie, and I would disagree with you about being the least competent person here. So, right. So our company is actually very young. This is where you were probably half a year ago or so, and basically we're experiencing the very first problems of hiring the first people from the team, and just getting everybody on board and arranging everything day-to-day work just from the very beginning. So I suppose we are going to provide a little bit of different perspective here.
Okay. So could you maybe start with I hear a lot of word of a problem and hard to find talents, and it's very it's everywhere, yeah, that it's hard to find people. But let's share some positive maybe insights today, and then maybe if you could tell us about the most successful trick or tip or a situation where you managed to get the best person on board, and why. Yeah, the panelists didn't have the questions in advance, so it's all...
Yeah, I can tell. I told a little bit how we do that in our company. Most of the people who come to Vinted are basically somehow connected to you already. Those who work in the company, so basically we just unleash the network effect. We have like public database inside the company with all the candidates. We spoke or willing to speak. If I find someone adds me on LinkedIn, well, I don't know, I see that he's engineer or something, and then I just post to our kind of internal system and say, hey, this guy added me. Does anyone can have any feedback about him or her? And then just developers say, yeah, I work with him. Like I heard this, I know this, and then he's a nice guy. And so, okay, let's try to, invite him for an interview to learn more about what he wants, at what kind of stage of life he is, what he's looking for, and so on. And maybe he doesn't want to, I don't know. So basically we just kind of crowdsource everything to the people, and most of the experience you have coming to Vinted is like mostly because your friend is working here already. Sometimes, that's one part. And now what we started to do, so since we already have all the best friends, so we just compile very nice ads and share on Facebook and ask everyone, hey guys, can you just share that? And maybe I hope many of you have seen already like some ads on Facebook. We are looking for copywriter or BI analyst, and very successful. Like once, last one had like such a huge amount of applications. So and then we just interview them. And team does all the work, so basically. Since the team cares most with who they are going to work, they really do a great job to choose what they really want to work with. So that's why we don't have any evaluation forums or nothing. Just choose and that's it.
But I have a question for you while you're doing your presentation. Do you have any performance management system, or how do you manage the team's performance? Because you can see that they have a lot of responsibility and so on, and what about the results?
Yeah, the results everyone presents if they have something to present every 2 weeks. And they have 5 minutes of presenting, and then everyone sees what does first. And when team doesn't present anything for, I don't know, 3 times in a row, you just go and speak to them, but we don't have problems that people are slacking, like everyone really just does the best they can. And validation process, well, at the moment we don't have validation process, but we are making an experiment at the moment, like we are thinking about making kind of open salary project inside, meaning that everyone would know how much everyone earns, and whenever you want to, review your salary, so basically what you would do, you would propose by yourself how much you think you have to earn, and if your colleague says, yeah, so that's correct, so because everyone knows how much everyone earns, why not? So then that's fair. So this kind of experiment we are kind of trying to make at the moment, but until now we had this process which I call shurum burum. We just speak to someone, sometimes people speak to me, I don't know, someone to someone, and they have to find to whom they speak because we don't have, this hierarchy structure. It's a big problem. It's sometimes to whom should I speak about my salary? Yeah, and then I don't know, we speak. They say something. Say fine. If that's reasonable, usually, always reasonable. That's okay. So no, we don't have.
Okay, thank you.
Many others want to say something.
Yeah, still, if you have to share some success stories on finding the best people.
Yeah, so basically, as a small company, usually you don't have the luxury of, offering a huge salary or offering being a part of something huge as Vinted. But we, for example, for us, we can offer being a big part of maybe something small, but a really huge part of it. So usually that's what sells it in the end, because you can be working on a nice technology in a big company with very big project, but a part of a big project. When you come work for us, you can change everything we do. Basically, you can have that impact if you are really good and smart, and you have the ideas that you manage to convince us that are better than what we are doing now. It's totally possible for that. That's what we do.
Okay.
Maybe I could simply share one story, a very recent story that we had incubated project. The idea was done by one lady, and she left, and we had simply an idea in the company, and we were looking for a business developer or whatever that could take it from 0 to 1 in a short period of time, of course. And we interviewed one candidate that really pitched the kind of reality that it's just an idea, you have to bring it, you have to work very hard, assemble the team and whatnot. And we were not saying that you will be solving like the most challenging problems or working with the best team, because there was none, of course. And at the end of the interview, I just simply asked, on a scale 1 to 10, how would you rate your luck? And then the lady said 9. And I kind of assumed that she recognized the opportunity, and we just said, yeah, go welcome him on board, and she's doing a very good job so far.
Okay.
Well, I would say that all most successful was that actually friends bring friend. And when one person, strong person joined, and after that person joined, the other strong person. So it's like how to say, it's actually friends bring friend. And I would say that this is the most successful. We still have the list of friends. We still want to run away. So when it will be done, and lack of that, so we'll think what to do next.
Okay, thank you. Bernard, you have
I suppose the final note here, I totally agree with the point about friends being friends. Actually, your own friends are actually normally enough, more than enough. So from our practice, it's best just to ask around. And as a young company, you don't really need that many people, and in that case, you can actually find some people who are really great. And there's an additional thing about hiring somebody who is your friend or somebody really close to you, because this person will feel a personal obligation to perform, to actually show great results, just because this person wants to impress you or wants to impress the person who is recommending him or her.
Okay, so I see that most of the analysts wouldn't agree with the idea that don't mix business and friends. Yeah, it's the opposite.
I would mix as much as possible.
Can I comment on that? So basically what we had, even that we are a small team, but we had a situation, it wasn't something big, but when, not everyone is friends with everyone, it's not like you bring all one group of people who hang out together. It's like someone's friend and then his friend.
Okay.
And these people basically were sticking together mostly and not talking to other people. It wasn't that bad as I'm describing it now, but still it becomes that there are like fractions inside the company, even a small company. And if you grow like rapidly, maybe it's not that visible, but when you just add one person and then you see that the other person talks more to that one person, doesn't talk to anyone else, it's not that good.
Okay. Okay, we all speak about how important that the team was happy and the happy employer is a good employer. So do you measure employee satisfaction and how do you keep the people happy at workplace, happy and motivated? If everybody could share again if they have any things. Yeah, yes.
I already told how we encourage people to be happy, so I'm not going to speak on this, but what we do is something to run a survey, which is ask everyone one question. Are you happy at Vinted? And 2 options, yes, no.
Okay.
So last time we had, so it was 100% yes. Last time, one before, it was 95%, so that was maybe 5 months ago.
But is that like a confidential survey, or is it like, do the person has to say that he's happy, or is it fine?
And he has to participate and say yes or no.
Okay.
It's not, it's probably everyone sees.
Okay.
What we did, actually, after 3 or 2 months, we always ask the person what we can do for you to make you more happy. One thing.
Okay, that's...
It's something very strange answers that come in. For example, I want a more comfortable chair, or for example, different screen. But that's people are making happy.
Okay. But don't you think it can be dangerous if this person asks for like a private jet or something? What do you do then?
Well, everything has to have common sense. Doesn't mean that you buy a private jet, but more or less it's like the most funny thing that sometimes they ask, for example, I want to switch the, I don't know, computer. It's a simple thing we can do. It's not something rare.
Okay.
To be honest, we don't do anything special about it, but what we try to do, I hope that we have such an atmosphere that anyone can come to me and say, well, whatever is wrong at the moment. So.
Okay, so it's just an open culture that...
From the startups that we are accelerating, I've seen that happiness is a part of culture, and also founders are very much responsible for the happiness. And we as an investor or mentor are trying to involve the community, first of all, to kind of relate and share the ideas and grab a beer if we see that the mood is going down, or we kind of rally them up if they want to achieve some major milestone in their development. But in general, it's up to the team, as we've seen, to monitor happiness, and when you're successful, you're happy, and once the company is developed further, have a larger number of employees, it's probably a task to be put on something that can be monitored. In a startup with 3 people, happiness is just a common goal that they try to achieve. Yeah.
I couldn't agree again with everybody who was mentioning how important happiness is, and in fact it's really, really tricky to track it as well. It really depends on the size of your company, but coming from a really tiny one, you really have to just concentrate on non-formal measures. Basically, you have to concentrate on talking with people and trying to understand how they feel, and it's really tricky actually. Because you always have to think about yourself as well, so it's not only about the entire team, but it's not only the people who are in the team below the level, but also the entire team. So It's a very tricky task normally, but also very important naturally.
Okay. And talking about not so maybe pleasurous things, is like how do you decide when it's a time to let the person go? And I'm sure everybody had the situations when somebody doesn't succeed, and then how do you decide when it's already?
Well, we probably propagate the system of yellow card and red card, but normally what happens is actually the only time that it had to happen, and the person after a yellow card said, all right, I probably need some vacation, I'm probably going to leave myself for some time. So it was also just trying to maintain the good relationship with the person.
So what, the colleagues give a yellow card to somebody, or how does it work?
In our case, it wasn't really the colleagues would give the yellow card. We just realized that the performance was really unacceptable, and we basically had to talk with this person and said, well, we don't really like what you're doing, and if this continues, we'll have to do something about that. So the person said, well, probably it's not necessary, I want to leave them.
Okay.
So in our case, since team has responsibility to hire the person, so they have responsibility to fire as well. So we try to hire like so well, basically, that it's very rare that we have to let someone go. But when there is a need to do that, I'm even not aware of that. It just team has personally such a big kind of moral pressure on the person they hired, and just goes automatically very quickly. So kind of autonomically without any intervention. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think we are too young to tell the truth in Lithuania, like week's office, because we didn't have any person who would like to leave during the 1 year. So I would say we are happy with this. We had one case when the person didn't manage to do well in the trial period of 3 months. But to tell the truth, for me it was the hardest decision. Like not me was the decision. I would have the person to talk to him about that. But for that night before this talk, I couldn't sleep. So, but yeah, it was the team decision, and like they came and said, okay, the trial period doesn't go well, so we need to do something.
Okay.
Luckily, I had to only do it once so far. It was also during the trial period, and so I wasn't happy with the performance, and then something happened that put it over the top, and basically the person realized that that was a big, how do you put it, screw up, and basically we parted ways. I think we're on good terms still, but as I said, luckily I hadn't have to do it in hard way so far, and hopefully we'll never have to. One can only dream.
So yeah, Startup is also a managerial system in a way, so everyone has a role. There should be no territorial disputes, but they assign a role, right? And the very first thing to do in a startup is kind of get on the same page and understanding that ownership is not immunity, or your role. The company can sometimes outgrow you, and you won't be needed anymore in the company. Of course, no one's going to fire you just because you're not needed or something like that. But in a way, it's a management system, and everyone has to do their job to be perfectly aligned with the interests of the company and whatnot. So it's a very natural process within the company. Of course, sometimes tears are shed and whatnot, but yeah, it's only for the better.
So did you have to fire somebody yet, or?
Yeah, I had to fire already in my short experience in Accelerator, but not from the startups, but from my own Accelerator. It's the same. But it's not very exciting to do that, but so when you're hiring, you're based on team decisions, right? And I heard Bernie has the scorecard system, but usually a CEO or a founder has to talk with the team and explain. So therefore I say that it's really important from the first day kind of to say that we are here to achieve a specific goal. We are not immune. We are, have investors, we have KPIs to track. It's not like a movie where it's all like commonly depicted in the public media or on television or movies, that you have a great idea, then fast forward and you have a big exit, right? And you live very happily. So in that fast forward period of time, there are a lot of things happening, and you of course saw the movie Facebook, and you see that friends get in arguments and all these issues and whatnot. So it's not very actually, but it's a part of a startup.
Okay. And then maybe to talk, to sum up a little bit, it's, everybody says the organizational culture is very important. Yeah, and what is the organizational culture? The traditions, the atmosphere, and so on. Do you do something on purpose to build the company culture, and how do you do it? Yeah, we can start this way.
So I think our culture is that we don't have any defined culture, and basically we don't do anything specific. We do some, go somewhere together and blah blah blah, but don't define it as here is our culture, here are our values, etc. I think so far as every hire goes through me, basically I do the culture check before I hire someone, and the only times when I did the shortcuts, because I was very impressed this person wanting to work for us instead of us trying to pursue them to join us, then basically it fails on the culture level. But if you have a small team and you talk to every person before you hire them, it usually comes out pretty much aligned on the culture level, unless you're not focusing on it during the interviews. So, yes. Nothing special to share here.
I would say as well, I don't have nothing special to share here. Well, when Wix opened, we already were like 400 or 500 people globally, so we had a culture in general. And when we launched the office, we had we have an example how our other offices were working. But I would say we haven't followed up. We more or less graded ourselves. We took the examples what they're doing, what fits for Lithuania more or less. And now we are already like more or less bigger teams, so it comes very natural. Like even this happy hours is not anymore. I'm not calling guys, let's on Friday, let's do something. They're coming and say, oh yeah, we want to, let's go out. So as it shouldn't be pushed from management. Surely it should come from down to top. Actually, we don't have management.
Yeah, I agree that culture is something people actually create. It's not the management or me creates by making something, organizing, not at all. So if you want people to do something, so give more freedom, less control, more trust, embrace, do crazy stuff, and just let them do their stuff and don't interrupt, and it will come automatically. I've been, as I said, there are like 130 people. Everyone is so different. I don't believe in universalism. Like you can make something universal for all. Everyone is different. Teams are different, and so on. So we, just say you have your team. You do whatever you want. You show great stuff, and other people, other teams can be inspired and follow you. And that's it. So that's how we work.
And once again, I agree totally. So, in my opinion, the key idea here is actually to make a culture that is actually fostering for everybody. That nobody feels excluded, nobody feels outside, everybody has to feel highly involved in the company and highly motivated in this way. Luckily enough, in our case, the vast majority of our people have been previously friends, therefore we are actually friends beyond the company, and we were friends before the company. So it's very, very easy to create a culture and maintain it. And the new people who are coming in, they are most likely somebody from close circles and so on, ergo quite similar people as well, which might be a drawback in the end, because we might generate a very, very, let's say, one-sided culture. But that's an issue for the future as well.
Well, Arvydas has said his ideas about that.
Thank you
Did you
for
have
remembering. Usually I don't, but it can help somehow. So culture is an integral part of people. You cannot force culture on people, and you cannot do other way around as well. And culture cannot be separated from the people in the organization. So it all comes down to in a small startup, it all comes down to the founders. They're kind of how they can convey their idea of a startup and how can they convey it that we need to have fun in the process. And a lot of talented people, they have the luxury to choose. So a lot of them wants to bring their pet, or that would be something nice to them, right? A lot of them can work in so many different companies that are solving so many different challenges. So you have to be able as a founder to attract the talent, and in that sense you have to have culture, inner culture that you can project on other people, and you can rally everyone around you, and kind of, you cannot say today we eat cake, and one person shows up and where's the cake? Here it is, but the other 20 are not. They would rather go home, So it's something you cannot force. It's something you have to build, and something you have to cherish, and something that is so important because usually startups they don't have so much cash to burn on salary, so they have to compensate in another way. Equity is cheap to give in the beginning, so it's also not that motivating. And so just as a founder, you have to think about it, and it cannot be forced from investor or from any other, or just because it's written in the textbook, or Vinted is doing so nice with the culture.
And then what would be your advice for new businesses, for people here who are still going to build their dream teams? What would be your main message that you would like to give?
So I can say pretty clearly, so when you're trying to found a team of successful people, first of all, sell your vision. Sell your vision and make sure that they are aligned with the vision. Not try to sell the perks that comes with the job, like I'll give you so much equity, we'll be so rich, or we'll be solving such an amazing problem that will have impact on everyone in the next 10 years or so. So basically try them to believe in you as a founder, in the long-term vision, and try to make it collective decision, because it's so important that everyone would be working as a team. First of all, they don't necessarily have to be friends, and I'm very much in line with what Alan was saying, but they have to be aligned, and in that way they have to be in the same boat with you, rowing together to the common purpose. So they have not to be motivated by cash, by some kind of perk. So they would be with you, together with you at the very sad days as well as the bright days. They would not jump out of your boat for offer 20% more of fixed salary in another company. So yeah, think about that. And even in the shallow market, as Lithuania, as I think we've touched upon that, there is so much talent, and there is so much talent abroad. So they also want to come back to Lithuania, and we see that trend reversing, kind of smart people coming back to Lithuania. So yeah, I think that you have so much to offer. You have so much to offer compared to the corporate world as well, because it's innovative, dynamic, and whatnot, and just sell your vision.
I think when you look for a co-founder or try to hire your first person, I honestly do not agree that you should necessarily for the A player in terms of skills or something like that. You would much better be with a B player who is in terms of skills only, but who is very motivated and who is aligned with you on a cultural level. So when I went to look for a co-founder, I failed miserably because I'm probably the oldest here, and people I know personally are of my age, have 3 kids, and say screw you with your startup. I need a steady salary of at least 10,000 liters, or I cannot live, etc. So basically, when I failed, I decided that I need then to go to plan B and hire someone. And basically, I had 3 candidates, and I've hired who looked like at that time with least experience. And maybe so I couldn't know it from one to 2 interviews, but I felt that this is the right guy, and I'm so happy with that decision at that point. That I would probably, if I had to set milestones in our life, I would make it a big milestone when I hired the guy in my first employee. So what I want to say is go for what's the saying? Culture is it's something for breakfast, strategy for breakfast or something like that. So go with cultural fit rather than A-class technical skills or something like that.
Regarding A people, by the way, I was telling that not that from the experience side they should be A-level, it should be A-level from their motivation to learn. So yeah, so what I add to them that hire the people who are really intent to learn, because in time they will become great and the best. They will jump over the experience in I don't know a few months. So this is the biggest advice I have.
Yeah, I can just agree with what Monika says and just encourage you to not look so much at CV or skills, but more into, as you say, shining eyes of the person. That's super, super important when you're looking for first people joining your company, and not the first.
Right, I couldn't agree more. So, the main point being is that if you're looking for the A talent, the class A, the person who is Google-like and so on, the person who is corporation, whose life is corporation and so on, you're probably going to miss out here. What you have to be looking for is somebody who is mental. You have to be mental yourself to start a company, and you have to look for somebody who's like you, somebody who's happy to work for. I know how many hours to come back home at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock on every day, and just keep on working from home, just because the internet here is not very good sometimes. So you just have to be looking for somebody like that, somebody who is not working there for the money, for nothing else, just for the somebody who actually manages who maybe is mental enough not to see the problems that are probably going to arise, but just to see the vision and the beauty of it in the future. And surprisingly enough, there are quite a few people like that. And people actually who are coming from top-tier companies, such as, for example, Google and so on. Sometimes you start talking to them and they say, yeah, well, my job is really fun, and so on. It kind of gets boring for eventually. And they say, you know what, I would really love to do something like you guys are doing, joining you, and it's a shame that you're not doing cloud solution, for example. So that's the key here, is that many people actually are looking forward to do something like that. Many people from top-tier foreign companies would not imagine.
Okay, thank you. And then we have some time for a few questions from you guys. So be brave, and you have a great chance to find out something that interests you. Yes? Guess we can pass the.
It's okay, I speak louder, so. Yeah, I have one general question. First of all, thank you very much for this presentation. It was very interesting. My question, like a general one, is what biggest challenge you see in your companies related to people? And if the answer would be like to find good people, then maybe you might tell a little bit more detail what exactly. I mean, is it that it's difficult to find them or what? But maybe you have some other challenges there. And maybe some specific questions to Justas. My question is this: that how you see it? Isn't it? It's interesting to me. Isn't it difficult to steer such type of company as yours, having in mind that it's very liberal, very like self-independent in the teams and etc. How do you give the direction? How you agree on that? Because I assume still there are people who are good at visioning, strategy, all those things. Obviously, maybe people do in some coding and maybe not so 10 years in perspective, seeing the future as probably there are some guys in your company. And and the last one is that your company was already quite old one, like 6 years, and at the beginning, that's kind of anti-shy question, kind of so, but maybe still. At the beginning, your growth was quite modest. How do you see it? Was it related to some challenges related with talents, hiring, or it's absolutely different reasons? Thank you.
So first question was what kind of challenges regarding the teams, the people we have in the companies. So everyone is welcome to answer. The second was what was this?
How hard to manage the company like yours?
Yeah.
Which is
how to manage the company, and third was I was asked to repeat. What was the third?
The third company want to grow.
Yeah.
That
So first, very quickly. So first, the biggest challenge we have that it's we have so many open positions and we don't find people as quickly as we want. That's clear challenge, very visible. The second question about managing the company is actually super easy. There is a global vision. You know, it's very. I try to do my best to communicate that, not just communicate vision itself. It has to be visible through the actions which are made on a daily basis from any action I make. And teams, you know. So they are working on kind of smaller parts, kind of their own small visions, which you know comes as a one sentence, and you know they are in charge to think about that for months and work on that, you know, for a very long time. I mentioned like virality team, which solved the problem. I don't know. I have never heard about Vinted. There is another team which is working on the problem, which is I'm afraid to buy in Vinted. This very big problem, and you can think so many things about that and what you can solve. The other problem is like, you know, I don't know, simple one, but to release integrated payment solution, world class over, you know, all the markets we operate. You know, that's kind of small visions each team has in mind, and they keep working with that for a very long time. And it's not something they switch all the time. So I just stick to that and go. And that's it. And the management, which actually I have to do, is like just to stick different visions to the teams or to pitch that, okay, now we have to work with this kind of problem or that kind of opportunity, and okay, here's going to be a team around that. And that's kind of management, basically, I do. You know, what kind of, for example, recent idea was like to create a team which is going to solve the opportunity to unlock the potential of people working at Vinted. You know, so I'm in that team, and there are 2 more people now. Engineer came, and you know, and we are working to unlock the potential of people, and we are introducing that kind of, you know, open financials, you know, common sense policies. So that's kind of job of our team, you know, and yeah, it's all based like just giving small missions to everyone. Yeah, and the last question about the growth, actually, you know, on the big scale, it looks like there was no growth, but actually it's due to the scale, because if you zoom in, it's exponential growth in any part of, you know, part of the chart. You know, it's just, you know, that's the idea of exponential, because whenever you zoom, it's exponential. So it was always growing. And, you know, in the first year we had like, you know, 5x growth, you know, even though it's like from.
So people were never a problem.
What do you mean, like never a problem? So of course it's a problem because we kind of want to hire more of them. So yeah, it is a problem. But if you ask like, do people contribute to that kind of growth? So I can see, yeah, clearly. And in my chart there was one point which was kind of breakthrough, literally, which increased our kind of growth dramatically, and that was the release of apps, basically. And not people, so we couldn't make apps available, right? So and you know, teams working, they always release new stuff, which is they always tested. New stuff is always tested, A/B tested, and you can see that there is effect. You know, now I don't know, the variety is like 2% higher. So okay, great team did a great job. The other team, like I don't know, like. You know, it solved the problem of I'm afraid to buy, and now there is higher, like 2% higher conversion to, you know, from new members to the first purchase in 1 week. So that's a great achievement. And and everyone is like shipping that every 2 weeks something, and that's how it goes. And it just product gets literally better and better every day. First question?
Yeah, then the first question, what challenges do you face? Yeah.
Well, actually, the first challenge when we started launching the Wix office, nobody knew what is Wix. And when the first candidates came and I told them, guys, you have 5 steps, and I was like, what? In Lithuania, nobody is having like so many interviews, and it will take 1 month, like 2 weeks, 1 month. So it was the first challenge which I had, and I think it was as well for myself to convince the person that, come on, we are checking you, we are looking for the best people in the market. So I think it was the biggest challenge in the beginning.
Yeah, for us, the big challenge is hiring technical people. So you said 17% reply to advertisements, but 17% of zero. So basically, especially, maybe not especially, but in the technology stack we work in, all the people are working on Adform, Barclays, Svisma, all great companies, people are happy there, and something wrong might happen there, so they want to leave that place. So basically our like pool of candidates is really limited here, and it's a huge amount of work to hire someone from the technical side.
For me, running the accelerator, the most important problem or challenge is people, because we don't have anything else to sell. So we are insourcing our management, and the big kind of change was when Rocket Internet CTO joined us, and when First Pilot Sales representative joined us, and then we had a SEM specialist from Monik, the e-commerce retailer in the US. And that's really when the landscape changed, when you have so much talent that can execute and bring other startups to the same quality level of not only Lithuania and Baltic states, but to Europe and abroad. So it's a limited experience for me, but so many people.
Such a lot of crew for microphone. So, and then again, we're also having the same issue of getting somebody who's who actually knows what we are talking about, because we're operating in a very specific environment, in a very specific environment of Microsoft VSTO. And frankly, from what I hear, perhaps there's not a single person in Lithuania who has a very good knowledge of this. As a matter of fact, there seems to be around 100 to maybe 200 people who have clear knowledge of this. 50% of them have developed the system, so it's the fun side of it.
Do you have a question there?
Yeah.
Yes.
So for Justas, you mentioned that only 15% of the people passed the homework assignment. So I have like two questions for it. One is it relevant to the job that they're gonna do, or is it like some random high school or college algorithm that you give and see how they can solve it? And do you do a false negative? Like, I mean, do you go back and check that, like, is this assignment really filtering the people that you actually don't want to hire?
Yeah, it's the test has been assembled. So I was when homework tasks. So let's speak about engineers, for example, and like back-end engineers, for example. So yeah, each homework task is kind of developed by people who they developed what they want to check, and they write kind of the full philosophy what they want to say. So they say, okay, so use whatever code language you like. So we prefer like readability, simple code. It's very important for us. Then use those style guides for that. So we do always testing, so write tests, and then we prefer in our coding, we want to see, what else do you want to see? Your code has to run with one single bash line, okay, so break something, okay. And yeah, and then there is a problem, which is like simple computer science problem with graph theory, which doesn't matter on that. Well, you will have to do a little bit of recursion, you will have several classes and so on. It's kind of relevant to that, and yeah, people develop, and then the homework is published publicly. Everyone, then developers comment on GitHub saying, "Oh, this is good, this is not good. No, we never do this. Why did he try this? Why does he test private methods? Like, why does he put so much code in one file?" I have a bad feeling about him, and I was, yeah, me too. And then okay, no, it's like based on feelings. Like I don't want to do that. So that's kind of. Yeah, and what was it?
And second unrelated question. How many of the items that you're wearing right now are bought from Vinted?
0.
Good. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, it's more for girls, I guess, isn't it?
No, not for girls. I really focus 100% of my time like to make secondhand the first choice worldwide. I have so little clothing, so I cannot afford to sell anything. That's the problem. It's really true, and yeah, I buy 2 hoodies. I have 2 H&M, for very simple. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess, Monika, we spoke before the presentation regarding the tasks for candidates, that you mentioned how many of, what percentage of your candidates pass the task, so maybe you can share as well.
Well, it's not nice to say me publicly.
Okay, so choice.
Yeah, but in general, we globally figure out that 10% of people pass the test. Like, well, 10% who come for the technical test are employed. It can be a technical test or technical interview or HR interview, but like in general, we have 10%. So, I don't know, 1 of 10 is lucky one.
But it all depends so much. For example, like if the candidate is kind of, offered or suggested by someone in our company, and 3 more people vouch, then +1, it means that he passed the homework assignment immediately. But if he is not employed or got fired, so those people lose the right to vouch. So when you vouch, you have to immediately.
We have one more
I
question.
have a question, like 2 weeks, you have so many levels, like when interviewing, and HR is at the end, so it means that they actually have to pass test and pass technical interview and kind of feel like good because like you're passing and then HR says no. Is it like...
That happens. Actually, HR is more or less like, I couldn't say this psychology test, but it's personality test. And from our experience, we did it in the end because lots of personality things, like in general, the person, even for the developer, sometimes looks okay because they doesn't see that, but deeply. And our HR, they really practice on that much, and they have lots of training. And they did it in the end because most of the time they pass. Like there's probability not big, so that will fail. So we left it in the end.
I want to add here. So we do this personality test like at the beginning because we think it's most important to have cultural fit, and that's done not by doing any formal test, just kind of conversation, sitting together for an hour.
It's not a test as well.
Yeah, sorry. So I don't want to. I just want to share, and then we just feel how do you feel during that conversation? You speak not about technology or something. Yeah, sometimes about technology, but about what do you do in your life, like what things brings passion to you. You just try to basically feel that person. Yeah, and sometimes it fails very quickly. Like I remember one candidate I had, it was interview like 15 minutes literally. So I just asked him to tell a little bit more about himself, and he gave like a monologue of 15 minutes how he was failing in his previous jobs, how everyone was super negative for him, how everyone was not so smart. And after that I said, well guys, thank you. That's that interview is finished.
But you did that in the beginning?
Yeah, in the beginning.
I have a similar story to share. So basically, I don't know why would you do this in the end. Maybe that's smart, but I had an interview with a guy who would probably pass all the technical stuff, but it was like the screening interview, just like as Justas said, talking about the weather mostly. And at some point, I don't know how did it turn out, but he asked something like, "Do you mind if I yell at our colleagues?" So I'm so passionate about my code that if I don't like what someone else is doing, I yell at them. And I was like, okay, we are done here.
Just give blame.
In general, what we did, that's why we give a technical to check the level, and then because this HR is not a test, it's interview more or less. It takes sometimes even 2 or 3 hours. So the person to do this HR interview at the beginning, I think he would screw up.
We have one more question, and I guess last one.
Thanks for the great presentations. It was really cool to hear all of that. I wanted to ask about your experience with the test periods for somebody who you're having for, 3 months, 1 month. What do you prefer to do? Do you prefer to just put that person into your environment and kind of like observe what happens? Or do you intentionally push or like drop challenges on that person, or kind of guide them for them to like express their potential, or you just watch what happens?
Very good question.
Well, at weeks, for example, sometimes I even don't notice when trial period finishes. It's no problem. But we don't push, especially this trial period. We are just let them to work. Because I think it's not nice would be from company to push the person
No,
more than...
not like pushing, but sort of like...
To give more
Do
challenges.
you have like an adaptation system, some kind of, or it's just natural?
It's natural.
Expectations or do something special?
No, it's
For
more...
them to shine. I don't know.
I think, for example, we have 3 months trial period. And it's a period when the person more or less shine. You don't need to give additional challenges. It's a time when you more or less have challenges at projects, and more or less the person starts shining in this time without any additional push. How it's called.
No, we don't do nothing. We treat like he's working, and that's it. And he is working.
Doesn't have confidence.
Yeah, you shouldn't expect any special treatment, because you should be expected actually to perform the way you would be performing in the future, actually, because by the time your trial period ends, you're most likely going to do something quite different to actually what you began doing. That's the beauty of doing something new.
Yeah, we also don't do anything special. One good tradition that materialized when our office manager's trial period expired, she brought a cake the next day. So I love this tradition. So I never know when someone's trial period expires, but the next day I know it because there's a cake. So yeah, but we had one instance of someone leaving us because he wanted to leave after trial period, and one instance I mentioned that we had to part way from our side. So, but there is nothing special about trial period. It's basically, I think it's mostly regarding Lithuanian law that it's so troublesome to fire someone after the trial period, so everyone has it here, because otherwise, if you don't, connect with the person, it's a nightmare. So.
Kick after the trial period says farewell on it, or...
So you missed the last chance to fire us.
Yes, we are involved in hiring more of senior positions or executive positions in startups, and for that sense, we are only monitoring their ownership perspective. So to see if you feel like owners, if they sit quietly somewhere in the corner and imitate working, or they are lost like a herd of sheep, somewhere hiding. So it's not acceptable. And we of course don't fire them in the same instant, but we try to talk to them. Why is it happening? And is it a problem that it was our bad decision to hire such a person without explaining that properly, or feeling that he has a ownership perspective or not? But definitely we don't have a kind of monitoring or mentoring or psychologist competence in our startups. No.
Okay, thank you very much for all your time, and I hope everybody brings at least one idea or insight home. And thank you so much for your ideas, and have a good evening.
Thank you all for coming, and maybe let's thank one more time for our lovely discussants. That's the word. Bernardas, Justas, Monika, I really hope that you found this event useful and that you will keep some information and take it away with you, and you will apply it to your own business and ideas. I just really want to say one more time, you can stay tuned for our all events in our webpage, which you can see on the screen. We also have Facebook page, and we also have, you can also subscribe our newsletter, which comes out every Tuesday. Yeah, approximately every month we have events like this, so just come and enjoy and listen and take all the knowledge that you can get here. Thank you one more time, everyone, and I hope you loved it. I did. And have a nice evening. Thank you.